much for watching and sharing and being with us.
Mm-hmm.
Connecting.
We hope everyone is well.
Yeah.
Safe and comfortable.
You can speak for yourself. I'll speak for me.
Oh, okay. I hope everyone is well and safe and comfortable.
I hope that too.
Okay. Today's podcast, or tonight's podcast, I should say, the one we just recorded, we talked about kindness, connection, and empathy.
Yes.
And they all kind of...
Especially in light of all that's happening in the world.
Mm-hmm.
This day, what is March
16th.
2020.
Yes, March 16th, 2020.
This would have been my grandfather's 104th, I think she said, 104th birthday.
Wow.
If he was still alive.
Wow.
That's what my aunt told me.
Just the importance of being kind.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stress and there's a lot of anxiety that I have felt being out in the world, and it's hard for a lot of people. It's hard for everybody, and I think that one of the things that the biggest thing is the uncertainty for me, and I know that even just being with you and in the small little discussions we've had, and a little kindness goes a long way for me.
Yeah.
And to remember that when I'm frustrated, and that when maybe you don't do something that I think you should, but we never talked about it, and it was all in my head the whole time anyway, and how could you know? And
right.
So be kind, because try to be kind, because you're coming from a place of love always.
Yeah, that's it. And in this time of heightened sensitivity and awareness and concern, ideally these are the type of things I try to work on all the time, and yet now they're really, really important. And it's kindness to myself first and foremost, and knowing that that's going to come out of me towards you and others. And even why I always encourage I statements, something that simple, is because I always want to reflect that I don't know what you feel. I don't know what you feel. And you don't know what I feel until I have the courage to share it with you. And, or take, have that space of intimacy with you. And I really respect that, especially, I don't know what's happening for other people right now until I ask. Just with daily life in general, and we were talking about on the podcast that people, how are you, and being kind of flippant and not really listening to the answers, where for me that's never the case. I very much value when somebody asks me that, to be, depending on the depth of the relationship, but even as someone at the cashier at Whole Foods or whatever, if you're asking me, I'm going to tell you. There's no reason for me to lie or dull it down, because I want to be in the practice of being honest and authentic and having the courage to say that this is my experience and there's nothing wrong with it. Mm-hmm. Versus I'm fine. And sometimes I do that too as a way to just shut it down, because I don't feel safe to connect with them, or, but with you, and it's very rare you'll get a I'm fine. you know that there's more to it than
yes
that.
Yes
and same with you. I'm like, oh, could you say more? Mm-hmm. If I get that kind of response. But
I guess the thing about kindness and the thing about empathy is understanding that yesterday we had some miscommunications, and it culminated. There wasn't anything huge by any means, but it was I had said something, and it was more my intention as to why I said it, and it actually had nothing to do with you or wanting to be a part of a team effort.
Right.
It was other outside anxieties that I was like, I just don't want to do that.
Right.
And you said, well, I don't like the way that sounded, and it's like, oh, because you thought that I was just, or it felt as if I was just being not caring toward you.
Right.
And that wasn't the case at all. And we got through that, and it ended up being a really nice time, and we got to sort of explore some of those feelings as to why, and you know, the reasoning behind it. And I think that through that, because it could have been we very easily, and you and I are not like this, but we very easily could have just been like, yeah, you know what, fuck it, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Fuck you. And like, you know, we would never do that.
No.
But it could be done where you're like, well, I don't know what her fucking problem is. I don't know what his problem is, but I'm not dealing with that.
Exactly.
So that was not the case, and I'm really glad that it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that it's like, okay, so this is not a me versus you problem. This is something else is going on here, and we need to kind of sort it out. And it's hard to sort it out sometimes because I don't know what to say, especially when I've said something that I feel like has set you off, or not, that, you know, that you're like, that it was misinterpreted. And so how do I backtrack and get it back to where I wanted it in the first place? And I guess just
practice,
to talk.
Yeah, just talk and be honest and
be kind.
And with yourself, like, yeah, and take honest stock of like, okay, what's my intention here?
And just, you know, one of the things that was important was empathy, and really, if I'm feeling bad, saying, hey, how are you doing? And finding a way to talk through the problem rather than than being combative about it.
Like,
you know, like combative about it.
Yes. And speaking of combat, we did talk about
What do we talk about?
Healthy expression of all the emotions that might be coming up now, good, bad, otherwise. You know, I like to practice giving all of my emotions a voice, a healthy voice and way to express themselves, and using like anger and rage and upset and even competitiveness, or, you know, playfulness, fun. They're all natural human desires, and to stifle them because, oh, well, this is a very serious time, you know, and we should be upset. I don't know. For me, I'm like, no, I feel how I feel when I feel it, and I would do my best to express it in a healthy way that feels good for me and doesn't hurt anybody else.
Yes.
You know, so...
well, and you had mentioned sometimes you said you punch a pillow, or you do...
Cry
like
in
you
the
said,
car, scream.
Cardio,
dance real hard, drum and bass, jungleists represent.
I like to go running, so I found that that's really important to me. I mean, I know that that's important to me now, and I didn't do it today, and I felt the consequences of that action, which it took me most of today to feel good. So
yeah, it's just sending the chemicals in your brain a little reminder, like, I want to feel good, and those actions can help physically. I'm sure there's science behind it.
Sure, I'm sure there's science. I just know the little veins in my forehead get pumping, and like, that means it's good. That's good. That means it's strong. Good. Blood's pumping. Strongly. Goodly. So I just think good communication, being kind, empathetic, because we're all in this together, and we see it more now than I think that we ever have before.
Yeah.
So
it's going to go a long way. It's going to be, in the healthiest way, infectious. The kindness will be.
Yes.
And that comes from being kind to myself and caring about. And it's a selfish act, but that has beautiful repercussions.
Yes. So, thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Please feel free to share. How are you feeling?
Yes.
I want to know. How are you?